Hi! Okay, so I'm making this video in dedication to my friend. Yes, Jesus! Woo-hoo! I'm gonna help. So this is the Jesus pamphlet. It's just like a few pages and it's available. And also I'm gonna read it to you because that's nicer and easier to do for your friend. And it's only a pamphlet, so it won't take that long. I would guess like 10 minutes, but I guess you know better than I do at this point. So let's go. You can stop watching and listen. The Jesus Pamphlet. A practice of radical surrender. The intent of this pamphlet is to encourage you to test Jesus. Experimenting with inviting him into your life has no downside. It has had none in ours. The love of Jesus is our direct connection to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is God's love moving through our lives. The message of Jesus is that the greatest good we can do with our life and in this world is to let the Holy Spirit do it through us, as did Jesus. Being an instrument of the Holy Spirit is our greatest resource, our greatest blessing, our greatest joy, and our salvation. To benefit from this universal love moving through us, we need to clear things out of the way. We must be open to releasing everything we do and don't understand about the world and ourselves. This requires, luckily, only intention and a willingness to ask for help. If the language or the imagery of this pamphlet offend you, change it. God is infinite and eternal, existing through and beyond any image you may create. You cannot offend God. Choose what works for you. And then it's Jesus staring at us. I wrote this pamphlet, by the way. It's weird that I can't read it correctly. Okay, so then there's 3 practices. The practices are all with the same intent of making space for the Holy Spirit. So it's just like 3 practices that we found super practical and beautiful in our lives, and so we're sharing them. And let's see, discover ways to practice radical surrender in your life. These 3 practices below are focused on gently releasing anything that would be in the way of you being a joyful conduit for the Holy Spirit. Try them all and use them in your daily life as you feel called. All spiritual practices end in meditation, all of them. This is communing with God. In this state, you have let go of all thought and all attachment. You are now light. You are an instrument of the Holy Spirit. This is your access point to the miraculous. So let's go. The first of the 3 making space for the Holy Spirit practices is prayer, obviously. Okay, prayer is a practice of the heart. We are not qualified to understand our human condition. We are entitled to surrender it to God. The goal of prayer is radical surrender, and it is instantaneous. So we say these words. This is the practice. Jesus, please come into my heart and let me see the world with your eyes and love the world with your love. Please help me to release any thoughts, any beliefs, anything that I think I may know about the world that would stand in the way of your love pouring through my heart. And then we would move into a meditation, which is just a state of surrender. Liberation breathing is the second of the 3 practices of making space for the Holy Spirit. And this is a practice of the body. This is a physical exercise in making space for the Holy Spirit. This method can be used to clear trauma, known and unknown. It is an exercise in releasing anything that comes up, mental, emotional, and physical. So the practice is, we set our intention to be guided by the Holy Spirit. We inhale deeply through our mouth into our chest and fully release through our mouth. We do not control or exhale. We do not control our exhale in any way. We release all tension in our body on every exhale. We are letting go of anything that comes up, any thoughts, any feelings, and any physical sensations. We are breathing everything out of our body and out of our minds. We are releasing and releasing and releasing. We are giving it to God. We move into meditation. The third practice is visualization. It's a practice of the mind. Visualization is our highest form of thought. Anytime we feel limited to thought, then let visualization be our goal. And then be open to outcomes that are far greater than those you can imagine. So the practice is this. We imagine best case scenarios. We imagine the results existing in this exact moment, and we revel in the feeling of this being our current reality. We turn our hearts to gratitude. We accept this blessing. We know it is our birthright to request it, and we accept it or something far greater, and we release it to God completely. And we move into meditation again. So visualization is awesome because there's no limits on your imagination. So you can create anything that you want in your mind and absorb the feeling of that being your reality in this moment, and then reap the rewards of that because that's the energetic frequency that you want. So that's the power of visualization. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I messed something up in the packet. But anyway, so then there's this whole section that's about actually using the practices, like situations that you may personally like have some hang-ups in that might be common, and then maybe which practice you might try to apply to it, stuff like that. So here we go, the practices. Use the MSS Practices, that's the Making Space for the Holy Spirit. Use the MSS practices that appeal to you in each of the sections below. If there is resistance in any of these areas, then there is an opportunity. These topics are all one misunderstanding with one solution. They are the belief that we are separate from God, and the answer is that we are not. Use the MSS practices to shed your identity and make more space for the Holy Spirit in your life. No attachments or misunderstandings are better or worse than any others. They are all simply in the way of the Holy Spirit specifically. Okay, first one, ego easing. Your ego is your identity. It is how you define yourself as separate. It has been created to keep you alive in this physical world. It is not evil. It is based in physical reality and limited to it. You would look past this reality to connect with the heart of Jesus. Release your ego with the MSS practices. There is no danger in releasing it. Our truest form is pure potential. Any definition of ourselves is limiting. Forgive. It's awesome. Forgiveness is love. It is the recognition that we are whole and nothing has ever marred our perfection. We are called to forgive. Jesus has shown us how. If we hold grievances against people, against God, against circumstance, then we are limited. These painful attachments linger in places the Holy Spirit would fill with something far greater. To shed these grievances, we must ask for help. Forgiveness is beyond our understanding and outside our ability to navigate. Jesus is the way. When we call him into our heart, we allow his living love to do the forgiving for us. Use the MSS practices to release all unforgiveness you may be holding, both known and unknown. Known and unknown. There is no limit to God's willingness to set you free. That's the best one. Okay, the next one, our addictions. We have strong emotional and spiritual barriers. We have not properly taken advantage of our option of releasing them. A substance or activity may offer temporary access to a broadened state, a respite. Wanting to hold on to that respite is the basis of addiction. When the effects of a substance or activity have worn off, you may experience your barriers as stronger still. Let your relationship with addictive substances and activities be influenced by your earnest intentions to lay down your mental and emotional barriers. You are entitled to give them to Jesus. Do so with the MSS practices. You will find that without your emotional and spiritual blocks, any substance or activity loses its leverage. Relationship power. Relationships are a gift. They offer reflection. They allow us to see ourselves in another. God glories and is in favor of your fullest joy in any relationship you would see yourself in. Romantic love is the closest experience we can have to oneness. It is the deepest relationship in form, second only to our relationship with Jesus. When we are in love, our heart is open. This is a blessing. It is our natural state. In this state, we are courageous in setting down our beliefs, and we are naturally receptive. Do not be afraid if discord arises in romantic relationships. It is a call for healing. Romantic love with its depths calls forth our deepest joy and our deepest injuries. This is a gift. Let us use our romantic love to seek healing together. Jesus is the only codependent relationship we need. When we look to another person to meet our emotional needs, we assign them too great a task. Do not burden your loved one with the unattainable. Turn your eyes to Jesus and bring his love into your relationship. Use the MSS Practices to free yourself of all your ideas about joy, injury, and how emotional needs are met. Relationship is most effectively used to magnify power. To unify intentions is to amplify power. This applies to all relationships. Set your ultimate intention of your relationships to be a force for the Holy Spirit. It is for your greatest good. Okay. This is a long one, sorry. Body misidentity. When you mistake yourself for your physical form, you will seek physical ideals that are painful and unnecessary. Use the MSS Practices to let go of the idea that you are your body. Make space for what the Holy Spirit cares about more. Anything you would change about your body will naturally change as you release more and more of your attachments. When you feel stuck thinking about your physical form, then let visualization be your practice. Every time, if you're stuck thinking about anything, if you can't go to prayer, or be in your present moment, or what's the other option? You normally can't do liberation breathing. We need to be home. Anyway, go to visualization. When you feel stuck thinking about your physical form, then let visualization be your practice. Okay, money. Money is one form of energy. If you mistake your value for your financial worth, you will not be satisfied. Your value is in your usefulness to the Holy Spirit. You may believe that you must suffer to attain money. Do not manifest suffering by maintaining this belief. Use the MSS Practices to release every idea you've ever had about money. When you feel stuck thinking about your financial situation, then visualization be your practice every time. Achievement. What you achieve with self is limited. Even your greatest successes of self are dimmed by what the Holy Spirit will attain through you. Your purpose is to conduct light. Use the MSS Practices to let go of your ideas about achievement and self-worth. Your Father has deemed you worthy of all. About sin. Sin is the mistaken belief that we are separate from our Father. Atonement is the correction of this misunderstanding. It is the recognition of our true state of oneness. You cannot offend God. How can you offend what is infinite and eternal? Nothing you've done, thought, or felt has offended your Father. You are a child asleep in your Father's arms, and what dream could you dream to offend him? Misactions in this world that indicate suffering and separation are not sin. They are symptoms of sin, and they are not punishable. You have believed yourself separate. That is your only sin. It's a misunderstanding that is easily corrected. Use the MSS Practices to connect with the love of Jesus and to release the idea that you can be separate from or offend your Father. Jealous fever. You feel jealous when you are afraid. Your heart believes itself in danger. Use the MSS Practices to release your fear to God. You do not have to know the cause or understand this fear. You only have to want to let it go. And be assured that what jealousy is standing in the place of is infinitely brighter. Competition. We compete when we see scarcity. God is unlimited and has declared us His. We cannot succeed independently of each other. Use the MSS practices to let go of the idea that your success could be separate from another's. The space that competitive beliefs once occupied opens up to something far greater. Work. You may have accepted the belief that hard work is the rightful precursor of reward. This is not necessary. Use the MSS practices to release all the ideas you have ever had about entitlement. Your worth is inherent. You are made worthy by your Father's love for you. He does not ask you to earn it. He only offers it freely. Your most important work is to make space for the Holy Spirit's work. Sexuality. Sexual energy is a gift. It's an affirmation of our creative energy. Welcome it and allow the Holy Spirit to direct it. The Holy Spirit is in favor of your joy and pleasure. Use the MSS practices to turn all of your energies over to the use of the Holy Spirit. Misjudgment. God has deemed every one of His children worthy of His love. Every single one. How can we judge what God cherishes? We are not here to judge. We do not have the perspective to do so. We are here to be loved and to be loved. The only way to do this is to let the Holy Spirit do it. Use the MSS practices to recognize your true function as a transmitter of love and of wisdom that is not your own. Education. We are natural learners. Turn your learning over to the goals of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will use your talents. This is why they have been given to you. Do the MSS practices to let go of the idea that you are responsible for choosing what to learn. Make space for the Holy Spirit to direct your gaze or the gaze of your child. Loving your neighbor. You treat others the way you treat yourself. You cannot help it. We are one at our core, and we cannot cause suffering for another that will not increase our own suffering. When we share love, we increase our experience of love. The golden rule is a statement of fact and not a recommendation. Use the MSS practices to release the idea that how you treat your brothers and sisters could be different than how you are treating yourself. There is no real separation between us. Choose again. Apply this in any situation. You are always entitled to choose again. If you find yourself in suffering, it is a good time to choose again. Use the MSS prayer to choose surrender to the Holy Spirit. It is the most helpful choice you can make. Parenting. The love we are genetically programmed to seek in our parents is available in abundance in God. Use the MSS practice to release any judgments you may hold against your parents or against yourself as a parent. Release the weight of the world. Allow the Holy Spirit to animate your parenting and your interaction with your parents. Giving is living. We give what we have. Giving is an affirmation of what we have. It is a blessing that expands and nourishes our heart. Use the making space for the Holy Spirit practices to surrender the idea that you have to decide when and where to give. Allow the Holy Spirit to do the giving through you. Your religion. Religion is the ego's spiritual identity. Do not be distracted by it. You would look through and around religion to connect directly with the source. Use the MSS practices to release any limitations you would place on yourself with religion. You may use it for its intended purpose of safeguarding your dedication to being the light of God. The path of God is guaranteed. There are many ways to commune with God. Jesus is the human experience of living with God. Okay, that's it. So long pamphlet.
At what time
20
did
minutes.
you close that?